Good afternoon, everybody who has joined this webinar. It's 12 p.m. here in Sydney. We'll wait a couple of minutes more to allow some other people to join before we kick off the presentation. Okay. Thank you everybody for joining the webinar today on how to deliver better online consultations. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we kick off. Please feel free to ask any questions as we're going through by using the Q&A function of Zoom. At the end of the presentation, we'll leave a couple of minutes to answer some of those questions. We'll aim to wrap up at 12:30 today on the half hour. At the end of the presentation, I will send through the presentation to everybody so that you can refer to it, and please feel free to reach out via email if you have any additional questions. So we'll kick off today. So a little bit of background on who I am. So my name is Tim. I'm the CEO of Natural Therapy Pages. My background has very much been in technology over the last 8 or so years. And I have worked for a range of different technology companies in helping them in their operations, in their marketing, and their sales, and helping them to leverage technology to grow their business. I also spent a number of years at a consulting firm where we helped other small businesses, small to medium businesses, to use technology to help grow their business. So my background is very much in technology, and so therefore I would like to share some things that I've learned over the last few years about how to use technology to better engage with clients and customers and patients, and how to use it to your advantage. So we'll go through the presentation now. Just make sure I'm sharing. Okay. So as part of what we're doing at Natural Therapy Pages is the Digital Practitioner Program. Now, when I took over the business about 5 or 6 months ago now, one of the number one things that I wanted to do was to meet many of the practitioners that are using our platform, and to meet many of the consumers that are coming on our platform to look for practitioners. And really, the purpose of those interviews and that research that we did was to really understand how our practitioners were currently engaging with their clients in the backdrop of coronavirus, and what were the most important things for them when it came to online consultations. And the top three things that were most important to practitioners in the context of telehealth were making sure that there is that patient or client care and safety there, the same levels that they would be providing in person. It was to make the experience more convenient, and it was to ensure that trust could still be built with a client or with a patient over the online consultation. So we'll keep those three objectives in mind as we go through this presentation. I'll refer to those as we go through. And yeah, so the agenda for today, we'll have a look at, in the context of online consultations, what are the tools that you absolutely need to deliver better online consultations? What are the basics? And then we'll go through presentations, which is one of the most underutilized tools or things that a practitioner can do during an online consultation to engage with their clients and patients. We'll then discuss links and payments. So in terms of the tools needed, there's really only a handful of tools that you need to ensure that you're set up to do online consultations. Many people will know these things. It's important to in the context of presentations, to have a Google Slides account. This is free to set up, and also to have a Google Forms account. We'll talk about that soon. It's also very important to have HIPAA compliant video conferencing software. So Zoom offers this as part of their paid memberships, but there are also other companies. There's an Australian company called Coview, which have HIPAA compliant video conferencing software, which I'd recommend looking into. I can send a link to them after this call. Very important to have the appropriate lighting. I'm currently using a light that I purchased on Kogan for about $25, and it helps just light up my face. And it's also important to have headphones instead of using the audio that comes off your computer, the loudspeaker, and this is because of privacy and security. And then it's really important to have a good webcam and good internet connection, obviously. So it's making sure that you have all of those things in place before you, or to ensure that you can deliver good online consultations. On the next slide, so this is just looking at some of the basics, some of the etiquette that you should be doing before the call or the meeting online. One of the things that we find that practitioners have found very useful is sending your client an online questionnaire prior to the online consultation. So this is where you can use something like a Google Forms, which is a free tool that Google offers, to send a form to your client prior to your call to collect a little bit of information. So you can ask a few basic questions about what they're looking for, why are they coming, why do they want to have a consultation with you, and just a little bits of information. You don't need to go into too much detail, but we'll talk about why this is important as we go through this presentation. Ensure that your background is appropriate and there's no distracting images behind you. I've got some plants and a painting, but it's not too distracting. I don't think anyone's going to be sort of looking at that, and they're probably going to be focusing more on me. So it's just making sure there's no distracting things like a bookcase where there might be some books and people might be trying to figure out what books you have in your bookshelf. So it's making sure you have an appropriate background. Ensure you're in a closed room with the door locked. So this is important to ensure that your client feels safe, and that you've got the privacy in place to ensure that your conversation is completely confidential. So that's very important. The lighting is important, as we discussed, ensuring you have a strong internet connection, testing your tech before you have the consultation. So before this, I tested with a colleague my camera and audio before the call to make sure it was all set up. And make sure that you have your client's information in front of you, including a phone number in case things go wrong, in case the connection cuts out. You can just give them a call straight away on their phone, and make sure that whatever software you're using, that you have a virtual waiting room set up so that you have control over who's entering into the call, and this is to prevent other people entering the call that shouldn't be a part of that call. Make sure you've got the appropriate clothing. I think that's a given, and eliminate things that might distract you. So the main thing there is making sure that your phone is on silent, and making sure that you don't get any calls or messages that might distract you as you're engaging with your client. And then before the call, I think it's always helpful to send a reminder. I'm sure many of you are already doing this, but it's important to have the system and the process in place to automate that reminder if possible before the call, just so people remember that they've got that call with you the next day. During the call, just some basic things. So when you jump on the call, make sure you confirm with the client that they can see and hear you well. So just get their confirmation that you can hear and see you well. Ensure that the client is comfortable with the setup. Where possible, look directly at the camera. Some people find it helpful to put a little smiley face sticker just below the webcam, just below the camera. And then if you look at that smiley face, it looks like you're looking at directly at the patient, and then take lots of notes. And I think it's important that the client knows that you're taking notes as well, because in an in-person consultation, and nothing can replace an in-person consultation, but if you're taking notes during that consultation, people know you're listening, and you're taking notes. So you can use the notes section here at the bottom, which is, I'm using Google Slides, which again is a free tool. You can use this section to take notes down the bottom. On the next slide, we talk about the basics after the call. So immediately after your consultation, follow up with a thank you email, and send any information that was promised during the call. This sounds really basic and straightforward, but you'd be surprised how many practitioners just forget to do this. They go about something else, and then they might be a few days later when they might follow up. It's really important just to follow up immediately after your call with a thank you email, and include any information that you might have promised during the call. Thank them for their time, and include clear next steps in bullet points in the email, if there are next steps. So now we'll go on to presentations. So presentations are one of the most underutilized tools a practitioner can use to enhance their online consultation. So, presentations, as I am doing right now, can be used to easily communicate concepts, principles, protocols, treatment plans, and other information, so that your clients can better digest your advice and your services. So we all know that pictures speak 1,000 words, and people are very visual creatures. So having information clearly in front of them is really important if you want to get messages across. And this is one of the ways that, as a practitioner and doing online consultations, as I said before, you can never replace an in-person consultation, but you can certainly leverage the technology as part of an online consultation to improve the experience in other ways, and to improve the consultation in other ways. And presentations are absolutely the best way that you can do that. So as I said, you can use Google Slides to create simple presentations. All you need is a Google account. You can create a Google slide for free. and then you can create templates and create a templated design that has your branding and looks nice, and you can create a template that you can just use to pre-populate with relevant information in relation to that online consultation, to make it feel personalized. And then, make sure to include disclaimers and references as you go through the presentation as well. So some of the things that you should be doing in a presentation is making sure you have an overview. So this is just having a quick one slide, which just has a quick overview of your business, a short description of your practice. What is your unique value proposition? So why are you uniquely there to help people? Just list out your services and then have your qualifications and your certifications clearly displayed as images on the slide. And as you're taking people through that slide, weave in a short story about how you got into the practice and why you do what you do, and why you love helping people, and weave a story around that so that people are more likely to remember that as well. So I mentioned before, making sure that you have or sending a client a little questionnaire or a form before your call. One of the key reasons for why you want to do this is because you want to present back to them insights that you got from that form. So you can use Google Forms, or if you use an existing booking platform, some of them might have functionality to allow you to send forms as well. Google Forms is just a free tool that you can use, but make sure if you get clients to fill out that form before, what you can do is then you can relay that information back to them on the online consultation, on the presentation, and this is a chance to show that you're listening. You can demonstrate that you understand what they're saying, and then you can also demonstrate your experience in that area. So you can draw some key insights from that questionnaire, and then get them to confirm those insights and what you learned from that. And so you get them to confirm that those are, yes, that is what they're experiencing, that is their problem, or that is their opportunity that they have to improve their health in some way. And then use this as an opportunity to share specific information that relates to their goals and problems, and then use that as a way to demonstrate your expertise and your knowledge in that area. So this is a way that, if we go back to those objectives at the front, this is a way that you can easily build trust with a client, whether they be a new client or an existing client. This is a way that you can really build that trust. If we go to the next slide, interaction. So as I said before, you can never replace an in-person consultation, but there are ways that you can still interact with people over a video conference. Some of those ways are taking notes on the presentation as you're presenting, and having templates that you can pre-populate with additional information. So you can collaborate with the client and with the patient in real time. So, an example might be, you might have a little assessment on a slide, and you might date it. So it's like dated 11th November 2020, and you might ask a series of questions about their health as a way to gauge how they're feeling, or some of the signals that might be related to your profession, and writing them and typing them out like this as you go through the presentation. And so then after the video consultation, you'll send through this presentation, which will have this information and have it all recorded. And then you both have a copy. And so that you both, at your next online consultation, you can refer back to that assessment. You can refer back to that information that you've collaborated on as part of that. Then one of the most important important slides you can have in your presentation is next steps. So it's very important that you have a next step slide. So this should have a clear timeline of events for your engagement with this patient or client, and include things like your program or your treatment plan, or what are the next steps that you want people to do as part of your engagement with them. And so, this is where you can suggest a next appointment time. You can pencil it in right then and there. And you can send them this presentation after the meeting, which has a timeline. And I suggest using a template like the one I've included there, which is a timeline of the key things that you recommend that they do as part of your service. And then you can come back and the next time you have your consultation, you can check against that timeline, and you can see the things that they did as part of that, and how you might need to adjust it. And it's very important to have these next steps. And this is when you send through the presentation after the online consultation, you can also refer to those next steps in your email, in the bullet points itself. So it's very clear what the next steps are and what they need to be doing. So that sort of wraps up the presentation side of things. Another opportunity for you to more engage with your clients, and this ties into the convenience side of online consultations, is the ability to send them links, or if you have potentially if you're selling additional products or programs or courses or things like that, this is an opportunity to send them links, URLs to that information, or to even send them an invoice as well. So it's a good opportunity while you've got them then and there to send them something to help them take action. And you can send them documents, you can send them products, you can send them anything. And I would suggest that if you do send them through something, and it's a website or it's a document, I would suggest to them over the call that you bookmark it in their browser, so that they can easily access it. So if you do sell products, now is a great opportunity to send a link for someone to pay. Stripe is an example of a payment service that you can easily get set up on, and you can easily sign up and get verified in a couple of days. And it's really simple. You just enter in the details, the price, send them the link, and an invoice like that on the right hand side of the slide will be sent to them, and they'll be able to pay. So it's all very seamless and easy to do these days to collect online payments. So that sort of wraps up the presentation. I wanted to keep it kind of short and sweet today, and allow a couple of minutes for questions. But I guess, tying it back to those three key objectives, in terms of patient, client care and safety, it's really important that you use secure and reputable technology. So to ensure that the data that you collect and use is all secure, and you want to ensure privacy as well, by having the closed room, by using earphones so nobody can hear any sound coming from the patient. And it allows you to be more personalized about the information that you can provide, which hopefully can improve some aspects of the client care and safety. Obviously, in terms of convenience, it's easier to collect and share information with an online consultation, and there's less time spent by both parties, not needing to travel, and really easy just to jump on. And then from a trust perspective, trust can be built by sharing insights and expertise and your knowledge about the particular subject matter. And it's easy, and you can collaborate on the presentation, which means that you've gotten them involved in the process, and that builds trust. So I think there's a couple of questions that have come through. So I'll go through a couple of them now. Do I need to pay for Zoom? There is a free Zoom account. So you can use a free Zoom account. However, this Zoom account, the account that's free, does not have the HIPAA compliant software as part of that. So you'll need to consider that. I'd highly recommend using a CoView for your compliant video conferencing software. If your existing booking system doesn't have its own software, but you can use CoView, which I believe is about $20 a month or so. But it's sort of state of the art video conferencing technology for online consultations. So I'd recommend that, and I'll send that through when I send through the presentation as well. I'll send you a link to there. Does your client need a Zoom account? No, they don't need a Zoom account, neither with CoView. So you would just send them a link. They can put it in their calendar and they can just click the link and access it. They don't need to download any third-party software. Do you think all natural health modalities can be conducted online? Is it as effective? So I think, there's two questions there. I think, no, not all natural health modalities can be conducted online. I think, there are a lot of modalities that can be completely online if there's purely only a consultation element to it. If there is like a partial element to it, where some of it can be consultation, but some of it needs to be in person, like you might need to do further testing or things like that can only be done in person, then online consultations can be a great way to reduce the amount of time that the person needs to come in to your practice. So it can still be an effective way, but obviously there are some modalities where unfortunately, online consultations are just not relevant, particularly in physical modalities, such as massage or osteopathy, for example. So in terms of effectiveness of online consultations, as I mentioned, there are elements that you'll never be able to replace an in-person, and I think with an in-person consultation, it's a much better way of forming trust with your client or patient and getting messages across. But there are certainly advantages of using online consultations that an in-person meeting doesn't have inherently. And another question is, do you think that online consultations will continue to be popular even after COVID-19? Absolutely. So the way that things are trending, and from the research that we've done on the consumer side of natural therapy pages and people that are coming to the platform, is that more and more people are becoming, their expectations around how health services are delivered have changed and have changed for good. So the majority of people, I think it's 75% of people, are open to online consultations and telehealth now, and I think that's increasing. So I think it's definitely here to stay. I think obviously as the restrictions start to ease, and in a few years' time, I think there will be obviously an increase back into the offline and the in-person consultations, but I think online consultations will always be now a part of the healthcare model, and so regulations are changing quite quickly around that as well from the government. So and technology is improving as well. So I think it's definitely worthwhile to have for your practice is to bear that in mind and think about how can I, knowing that this is going to be a trend and it's only really going to increase in terms of people wanting online consultations, how can I ensure that my practice is set up to take advantage of that trend, or to be open to providing that option for your clients. So yes, okay. Well, we're pretty much right on the half hour. So thank you everyone very much for attending the webinar today. I will send through this presentation shortly. I'll also include it in the next Digital Practitioner email, which is going out tomorrow. I hope everyone's enjoying that content. We'll also start doing some more surveys to understand what you guys are looking for in terms of education around technology. So yeah, thank you very much, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Thank you.